aquarianradio.com.
Aloha, this is Enki. You know me as Aquarius, and this is our age, the Sata Yuga. Time to celebrate with us. We have programs on all chakra tantra, love styles and relationship choices, counseling strategies and techniques that you can use at home. We have extraterrestrial radio where we deal with alienology, paranormal people, and we have an experiencers network. We have a section called Ancient Aliens, and the programs therein are Enki Speaks, Nimma, the Mother of Humanity, has her program, and we revise ancient anthropology. And most important of all, we have peace paradigms, because this is the age of peace. Harmony and understanding, sympathy and trust abounding. No more falsehoods or derisions. Golden living dreams of visions, mystic crystal revelations, and the mind's true liberation. Aloha, this is Dr. Sasha Lesson. I have a PhD in anthropology from UCLA, and my specialty is called ethnology, putting it all together. Humans have been on this planet for hundreds of millions of years. And I don't just mean ape-like things, I mean full-on human beings, some of them 18, even 35 feet tall. And we have evidence that anybody can look at. There's been a number of extinction events, and the record only becomes clear 450,000 years ago when settlers, full-on human beings, about 12 feet high from the planet Nibiru, arrived here, and 300,000 years ago created the hybrid humans that we are. In this program, we take you through the deluge, the nuking of Sodom and Gomorrah, and the ongoing battle between Enlil, Yahweh, and Marduk, Allah, who posed as gods, but were really just ETs with advanced technology. Their followers still pit us against each other, and the followers of other Nibirans, namely Enki, Nimma, and Ningishita, are here to help us overthrow the elite that follows these false gods and makes us kill each other and compete and kill our planet. It's time to re-examine ancient anthropology.
We explore the mysteries of sentient life on Earth, how it evolved, and where we're going. We interview anthropologists, archaeologists, researchers involved in the study of history. We seek to unravel the mystery, reconstruct, and redesign humanity's story to reflect the truth and a more authentic story, more accurate and closer to the truth. Truth sets us free, gives us all the information we need to evolve, grow, and become a conscious, civilized civilization.
And here are your hosts, Janet and Dr. Sasha Lesson.
Aloha and welcome to Aquarian Radio on aquarianradio.com. Today's show is an episode of Ancient Anthropology. The short title of today's show is ETs Moved Heavier Stones Than We Can. The long title is ETs from Nibiru Moved and Fitted Heavier Stones on Earth Than We Can Yet. So let's see, what else to cover? Today's program, Evidence for Ancient Astronauts, Part 2. I am your host, Janet Kerr Lesson. My co-host is the wonderful Dr. Sasha Lesson. It is April 5th, 2013. It is what is it today? A Friday. No. Yes, it is Friday. So part 1 was on the ETs, ancient aliens, astronauts, rockets, and space ports. So we're going to begin with Dr. Lesson, talking a little bit about where we're going.
Okay. Our science still can't cut, can't move, and can't fit the huge rocks, as well as the 12-foot Homo sapien extraterrestrials who came to Earth 400,000 years ago for gold from the planet Nibiru. These Nibirans cut stones as large as 10 tons. They had huge cutting tools, and the tools were run on power, which they pulled right from the earth.
At Baalbek in Lebanon, Nibirans built a launch tower for the gold mining expedition on a vast horizontal platform artificially created 4,000 feet above sea level, surrounded by a wall. The enclosed squarish area, 2,500 feet long, over 5 million square feet, was built before the flood, the Great Flood, which was 13,000 years ago, which we know of as Noah's flood, was held together without mortar, rising stage after stage to incredible heights, placed on a vast stone platform. The massive stones formed an enclosure that surrounded a cavity, a hollow something.
No, a hollow within which stood the rocket about to be launched.
Okay. Within which stood the rocket about to be launched. So the encompassing walls were multi-leveled, rising in stages to enable servicing the rocket ship and its payload, and a command module.
Yeah, if you look at our website, you'll actually see some sketches.
Which website can they find us on, honey?
This is on, it's on aquarianradio.com, and it's also on enkyspeaks.com.
Excellent.
So this platform at Baalbek included stone blocks of incredible size, precisely cut and precisely placed. The stones included 3 colossal stone blocks that make up the largest block collection in the world, the trilithon. The stone blocks that make up the trilithon weigh more than 1,100 tons each, and they're placed upon older, immense stone blocks that are over 60 feet long, with sides of 14 to 12 feet, cut with a slanting face and weighing 500 tons each. There is even now no man-made machine, no crane, vehicle, or mechanism that can lift such a weight of 1,000 to 1,200 tons, to say nothing of carrying such an immense object over a valley and mountainside, and placing each slab in its precise location many feet above the ground. There are no traces of any roadway, causeway, ramp, or other earthworks that could suggest hauling these megaliths from their quarry several miles away.
Zechariah Sitchin on his official website wrote of Baalbek, Gilgamesh, king of Uruk in ancient Sumer, went there circa 2900 BC to obtain immortality from the gods. Having been the son of the goddess Nin's son and the high priest of Uruk, Gilgamesh was considered not just a demigod, but 2/3 divine. This, he asserted, entitled him to avoid the death of a mortal. Yes, his mother told him, but to attain our longevity, you have to go to our planet Nibiru, where 1 year equals 3,600 Earth years. So Gilgamesh journeyed from Sumer, which is now called southern Iraq, to Baalbek, the landing place in the Cedar Mountains, where the rocket ships of the gods were lofted. The Epic of Gilgamesh, a text found inscribed on clay tablets, actually describes how Gilgamesh witnessed a rocket ship being launched from the landing place. A later Phoenician coin you can see on our website depicted such a rocket standing on a launching pad.
Sitchin wrote, the launch facility was located on a great platform, and indeed, the truly ancient site of Baalbek encompassed a paved stone platform of about 5 million square feet. The stone blocks that comprise the platform at Baalbek are so tightly put together that no one has been able to penetrate it and study the chambers, tunnels, caverns, and substructures hidden beneath it. Though the Arabs did penetrate a tunnel 450 foot long at the southeast corner of the platform, they proceeded then through a long vaulted passage like a railway tunnel under the great stones in total darkness. But the darkness was broken by strange green lights from puzzling laced windows.
The most important section of that ancient landing place, writes Sitchin, was its northwestern corner, where the remains of the Jupiter Temple Romans built on top of the earlier, the Romans built on top of the earlier landing place. So we have layers upon layers.
Yeah, they built the Temple of Jupiter on top of the stones from the Baalbek landing place.
Right, and now the Temple of Jupiter is in ruins. The Roman ruins standing atop the earlier Nibiran platforms, they stood atop it, that rose even higher by rows of perfectly shaped stone blocks weighing some 600 tons each. This is a weight that no existing modern equipment can lift to this day. By comparison, the stone blocks of the Great Pyramid in Egypt and Giza weigh about 25 tons. So these were 600 tons compared to the stones at the Great Pyramid in Giza.
Ever-rising layers of these stone blocks form in the northwest corner a funnel-like stone tower. The western wall of that tower-like structure has been reinforced with rows of stone blocks that weigh 900 tons each. On top of them, another higher course is made up of 3 unique stone blocks weighing 1,100 tons each and known as the trilithon, the biggest, largest cut and shaped construction stone blocks in the world. Nibirans not only lifted and placed such colossal stone blocks, but also carried them from a quarry several miles away. The quarry has been located, and in it, one of these colossal stone blocks had not yet been completed and still lies partially attached to the native rock. Its size exceeds the trilithon blocks, and if you look at our website, you'll see Zechariah and his students, many of them standing there dwarfed by this stone right there in the quarry.
Were those stone block quarries? Yeah, were they quarried? Sitchin asked rhetorically. He answers himself. At a stone quarry about 2 miles away from the site, one of those 1,100-ton blocks is still there, its quarrying unfinished. The quarry is in a valley a couple of miles from the site of the ruins. This means that in antiquity, someone had the capability and technology needed for quarrying, cutting, and shaping colossal stone blocks in the quarry, then lifting the stone blocks up and carrying them to the construction site. And there, not just let go and drop the stone block, but place them precisely in a designated course. And there they have remained intact and unshaken in spite of the passage of time and frequent earthquakes. They're held together and in place without any mortar.
An aside, Childress talks about how these stones are put together in a puzzle-like fashion, so even though there's earthquakes and stuff, and even the deluge, this structure can still hold together. And after the great deluge of 13,000 years ago, everything in Sumer was wiped out, but not this stone platform at Baalbek.
So that would place these in age at about what, honey? They're definitely older than 13,000 years old.
Oh yeah, this was there from somewhere around probably 375,000 years ago. That was one of the first things the Anunnaki built. When they got to Earth, they wanted to have a landing platform where they could take off from, and it was right there in Sumer. And Sitchin asked, who was it that did this moving of rocks? What technology was used for this incredible feat? When and why was it all done? And again, Zechariah answers his own question. He says, the great stone platform was the first landing place of the Anunnaki gods on Earth, built by them before they established a proper spaceport. It was the only structure that had survived the flood, and it was used by Enki and Enlil as the post-diluvial headquarters for the reconstruction of the devastated Earth. It's the only structure on Earth from before the flood.
Baalbek was incorporated into the post-diluvian landing corridor of the Anunnaki when they planned when they started the plans for the spaceport in the Sinai to replace the one in Mesopotamia that was wiped out by the deluge, the Great Flood. They ran a line from the peaks of Ararat through Baalbek and extended it to Giza, where they built the pyramids. So the Great Pyramids got built after the flood. They placed the Great Pyramid and the anchor in Sinai that in the end delineated the landing corridor equidistant from Baalbek. Could you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, they had, when a spaceship was coming in, it could sight this line, which they deliberately made. So the line would show them Mount Ararat. Then the next thing, the next dot in the line is Baalbek, and then the next place is the Great Pyramids, and then right after that, there's the landing platform on Sinai Peninsula.
Wow, so this is like they could see it from space, just like we have an airport. We have all the signs helping direct you into the airport to make a safe landing. They had the signs which could be seen from greater heights coming from space, using giant mountains and the pyramids, which are resembling a mountain, a natural earth form.
Yeah, and Tsakoulis, an ancient astronaut, shows that there's similar kinds of a series of markers in several places in the world, in Nazca, as we'll see in a later show. And these fellows made things they could see from real far away, much bigger than the Hollywood Hills sign.
Wow. All right. And so the commander of the Nibiran gold mining expedition to Earth, Enlil, called himself Yahweh. He designed a huge temple for Solomon in Jerusalem. The design followed the same design for Jerusalem's landing platform that it used for the landing platform at Baalbek. So they had more than one landing platform.
Right, so we know it's the same guy that designed it, too.
And who was the designer? Was that...
The original was designed by Enlil, and he was all happy about it, and he showed it to his... He hoped girlfriend Ninma, look, I made this. I'm making this spaceport, and I'll make a medical center for you. And won't you make love with me? And she said, no way.
Yes, well, she did. In the first place, she had a child by him, but I guess afterwards she changed her.
Yeah, just one home run doesn't entitle you to a season pass, she said.
Okay.
Okay, so we're looking at the big structures these Anunnaki made. In Mexico, Ningishita, with Sumerian overseers and Olmec, African foremen, as well as Indian laborers, the descendants of Cain, built Teotihuacan. In Yucatan, they built at Zibil, Chaltun, Palenque, Tikal, Uxmal, Ixamal, Mayapan, and Chichen Itza, as well as Copal, Tolan. In Izapa, they built huge stepped stone temples just like the ones in Sumer.
So we see these pyramids and stone-stepped temples all over the world.
Oh, there are some in Mongolia. There's some in Tibet. They're all over, and a lot of what used to be pyramids look just like mounds now. But when you dig down deep, you find they were part of the stepped pyramids, and the pyramids were stepped in such a way that they could not only serve as places where they generated electricity from inside. They made microwaves, but they also were ways of sighting on the edges when the stars, constellations would align to show when Nibiru was coming back, so they could prepare for it. In South America, Ningishita and his uncle Adad directed the construction of Mochica, Chan Chan, Cusco, Machu Picchu, Chavin, Olotumbu, and the Baalbek of the New World, a metallurgical temple and observatory complex at Tiwanaku in Peru. On Mars, Nibirans manned a spaceport and lasered a monument to one of their kings.
Which is the face on Mars that
Cydonia.
Cydonia in Mars, which Richard Hoagland had written a series of books on, the face on Mars and DVDs or VHSs back then. But the discussion's been going on for a long time about these buildings that are on Mars, and of course our government is trying to squelch that. They don't want to admit that there's civilizations on, or there were civilizations, or there probably still are, because we're going to have our guest Andrew Bashago on Revolution Radio tomorrow, which is on freedomslips.com.
A lot of their huge structures are now underwater. Just before most of them left the planet around 25 BC, they flooded their space city, which was called Huanaco, and it was they flooded it with the waters of Tiwanaku, of Lake Titicaca, and so Tiwanaku, which is 12 miles from Huanaco, is still there. But Huanaco has just recently been found underneath this lake. Lake Titicaca is kind of amazing because it has saltwater animals like seahorses there and everything like that. So these guys had incredible technology. And
so somehow you're saying that water got cut off from maybe the ocean at one point. It was
probably the ocean washed over everything in the Great Deluge
and brought life.
Brought life there. And at Olotumbu, you could see that there's been this huge mudslide that wiped out things. But one of the things is, to this day, there are repeated reports that out of Lake Titicaca, UFOs are coming and going.
Wow, so that's an underwater base, and it's very active. I had somebody ask me today, where did they go? Where did the Anunnaki go? And I said, well, they're still here. So, there's lots of places you can hide on this planet, especially under the waters. There was that wonderful movie a number of years back, anyway, there's some movies that have depicted the underwater installations, and we're always seeing ships coming out from underwater. And
one of the things
1990, just a human personal correlation. I was taken to the underwater installation in 1997. So I have a first-hand.
Where was that?
Record. Johnston Atoll, right off of Johnston Atoll. There was a portal to the underwater domain, and I reported that earlier in a episode that was titled Janet. What was it? Was taken to the giant dragon or something like that. I can't remember, but if you look at our website and you look at our Spreaker site and our Blog Talk site, you can find the earlier episodes, and we were documenting my extraterrestrial contact. But I had a question for you, Dr. Sasha. Are there any ideas how they lifted these rocks? I mean,
yes, indeed, there are. One of the things that we know is that they were refining gold that they got down in Southeast Africa to make white powder of monoatomic gold. And this is such fluffy stuff; it floats in the air. If you put a bunch of it underneath some weights, it starts lifting the weights. And there's a whole system that Michael Tellinger has documented quite extensively in the southeast of Africa, where they deliberately have these channels. They're about 8 to 12 feet wide. They're lined with about 3 to 4 feet of highly magnetic granite boulders, and they go up and down slopes that no cart or slider or animal could possibly go. And they brought water up the hill, and they brought refined gold down the hill, and they got gold, and then they refined it through a series of pretty simple chemical processes, which you can see about on our websites.
So this is called monoatomic.
It's called white powder of monoatomic gold.
Could you say it slower?
White powder of monoatomic gold.
Well, that's interesting. It apparently has healing qualities as well as the ability to lift, make things lighter than air.
That's right. They used it for healing. Moses in the Ark of the Covenant. There's a bit of a debate about it. Childress and others think the Ark of the Covenant was a nuclear power device, and it may well be that. But also inside the box, it's pretty obvious that there may well have been lots of this white powder of monoatomic gold, which Moses used to distribute to people as manna from heaven to keep them healthy. So that was where we started thinking about using this. And since then, people have not only made this white powder of monoatomic gold, but they've done the same thing with platinum and some other precious metals. They do have curing as well as floating abilities. Anyway, what happened is you can just see there's just 6 guys lifting this gigantic box, the Ark of the Covenant,
yeah.
And if it was really full of gold, 6 guys couldn't lift that.
Right.
So there's a pretty good chance that there was white powder of monoatomic gold in the Ark of Covenant.
Well, it's very interesting. This morning, very coincidentally, I got an email because I've been having some teeth problems, and they sent me an email with a link to buy monoatomic gold, and they said use it somehow, I guess swish it in your mouth or something, monoatomic gold to heal your teeth. They're finding that it heals your teeth and that your teeth are actually bone and that they can regrow themselves. Because modern dentistry technology is pretty archaic, pretty antiquated, and it needs to be upgraded to newer techniques. So I was really excited about that. I didn't have a chance to follow through the link, but I will definitely do so. So monoatomic gold, listeners, that might be a key to physical immortality, a good food source, and you can lift your heavy bags. Okay, let me see through. I had a couple questions before we end this episode. So, we're talking about at Baalbek in Lebanon, and so there are the ancient ruins that go back hundreds of thousands of years.
This is the place of so much history. It was at Baalbek that Marduk broke with the Anunnakis, saying you can only marry another Nibiran, and he married the Earthling, Sarpanit, and the astronauts, the Igigi astronauts who were on Mars base, came down for his wedding, and they said, well, look, if Marduk can do this, so can we. So as soon as Marduk was married, they seized 200, there was 200 astronauts, they seized 200 of the prettiest girls and took over Baalbek and aimed their missiles at Nibiru and at the rest of Sumer and said, recognize our marriages as legal and protect us and the families we're going to generate, or we're going to blow you to kingdom come. And so Enlil gave in, but he bided his time because he was really resentful of these humans who, as far as he was concerned, should be extinguished when the job of getting enough gold for Nibiru to scatter in their atmosphere and protect it had been completed. He wanted us dead.
So if you're listening and you've been to Baalbek, or you're living in Lebanon and go to Baalbek, we'd like to hear your reports. You can email us at aquarianradio@gmail.com and tell us what you see and take pictures and all that stuff. But there are plenty of pictures out there, and I know Sitchin used to travel there. Is it safe to travel there anymore?
It just depends. The only place I know that's really safe is Israel.
All right. Let's see. I think that's about it. Do you have anything else you want to say about this phenomenon that is all over the planet? These large stones are not just in...
I think Turkey is safe, too.
Yeah. These large stones are not just in the Middle East or the Far East. There's also in South America.